Wow, what another amazing episode of Game of Thrones Season 7. There's so much that we have to talk about, and there's only 2 episodes left in the season. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the wildfire bombs I'll be dropping in my upcoming videos. In the aftermath of last week's battle and the cliffhanger that wasn't, we see the smoldering field of fire in the background as Bronn surfaces from the water, the same water that he tackled Jaime into after he so foolishly charged the dragon and Daenerys, trying to end the war. Of course, the Kingslayer and almost Queenslayer survived as they make it to land gasping for air. Next, we see that Jaime is thankful to be alive and that Bronn saved his life, but he is understandably concerned that he has to tell Cersei about the dragons and that they can't win the war with Daenerys in possession of 3 large dragons. It's important that he understands what they are capable of, as this brings back the old feelings and memories to the surface, memories of the Mad King and possibly cluing him into Cersei's ignorance and the beginning of the makings of a Mad Queen. Speaking of dragons, Bronn has the proclamation that many of us Throners would make, and in this moment he says, "Dragons is where our partnership ends," showing that Westeros is indeed a cruel bitch where many dreams go to die. Next, we move on to Tyrion, who is lamenting amidst the charred corpses of the Lannister army on the Field of Fire 2.0, and it's obvious there is a larger inner conflict within him as he sees the destruction that is caused by Daenerys and the death of the Lannister soldiers employed by his sister, the Mad Queen. We see that the remaining Lannister and Tarly forces are given an option to bend the knee or die, as Daenerys wants to break the wheel, to destroy the wheel that has rolled over the rich and the poor to the benefit of no one but the Cersei Lannisters of the world. This does put Tyrion in an incredibly difficult position because he has to serve Daenerys as Hand of the Queen and advise her, but Daenerys is trying to show her strength and unfortunately indirectly is doing the very thing she wanted to avoid, ruling through fear. The men only kneel after Dickon and Randyll Tarly are burnt to a crisp, and after Drogon screams in their faces. Not only does this put Tyrion in a difficult position, but it puts us, the viewers, in a difficult position as well. It shows us that Daenerys could become like her father, leaving open the possibility that she could become the Mad Queen. And while the show is giving us the option to decide whether Cersei or Daenerys could become a Mad Queen, I don't think that Daenerys will end up obsessing over fire and burning innocents alive. However, it makes us appreciate the characters that are like Jon Snow and Sandor Clegane, who are more grounded and care more about the people. Speaking of Jon Snow, wow, I couldn't have enjoyed this scene anymore if I tried. I went back and watched this scene 10 plus times on repeat, and I have to say Drogon warming up to Jon and Jon embracing Drogon made me so hype I could not contain my excitement. The CGI team has done an absolutely fantastic job with the dragons this season, and despite being terrifying, the show manages to capture this beautiful moment between Jon and Drogon. Now, this scene is impressive not just because of the visual special effects that we get, but also because of the experience and the feeling it leaves us with. Who would have thought that Drogon would be affectionate and almost loving towards Jon? I think it's quite obvious though, the hint that Drogon understands that Jon is part Targaryen and that he senses that Targaryen blood within him, which makes him an ally and not a foe. This really signifies to me that they are both alpha dragons in my opinion, and even though Daenerys is Drogon's mother, no one is more courageous than Jon Snow in the face of fear. And this to me confirms that Jon Snow is the Song of Ice and Fire, representing the element of water which exudes love and life. This season has been filled with reunions, and I know we've expected more of the warm embraces of family and love, but we haven't got that. It's been quite bittersweet. However, we do get a more sweet moment between Jorah and Dany. Next, we then go on to Winterfell, where Bran was skin changing into the Ravens and going on his little mission. They have been featured in a few teasers, and we know that in some way at some point that Bran would try to find information about the Night King and his army. The scene was also beautifully shot and built up the cold embrace of winter as the Ravens went towards Eastwatch by the sea, which was amazing, and then north beyond the wall, until the Night King dispels any attempt at Bran trying to spy on him. I think it's now 100% clear that the Night King, whoever he was in a previous life, whether it was a Stark or someone else, that he is a Greenseer. That type of psychic ability is not common, and it does give me an uneasy feeling as Bran and the Night King kind of battle for supremacy over information and each other's locations. We have seen many characters be dismissive about the existence of the White Walkers and the Night King, so it is a breath of fresh air to see Jon addressing Daenerys that she is somewhat open to the possibility of this, and when Samwell is addressing the Maesters, that the Archmaester at least considers it because he understands Sam is a good and trustworthy person. Bran does send the Ravens to Dragonstone and the Citadel to inform everyone of what he's seen, and we see the old men at the Citadel are rigid in their ways, set in a specific mindset, making it very difficult for Sam to present what he believes to be true. However, there is an awesome reference from the old man to Jenny of Oldstones when the Maesters are talking about the children of the forest, which is a nice callback to the books. But then we have the absolutely massive reveal that Rhaegar got an annulment and got married to Lyanna Stark, making Jon Snow, get this, a legitimate heir to the Iron Throne and not a bastard. Before the season, I did start to talk about how I believe that Samwell would discover something important, not just about the White Walkers, but also about Jon's parentage. I was just wrong about who would discover an important detail about Jon's parentage. And wow, it's Gilly who stumbles onto one of the biggest bombshells that will completely change the landscape of the entire series. But the thing is we see that Sam doesn't even notice this with his frustration. While she reads through an old tome about all sorts of trivial details, like about how Septon Maynard was talking about his shit, she mentions that Prince Rhaegar Targaryen, son of the Mad King Aerys, and big brother to Daenerys, had his marriage to Princess Elia Martell annulled and was secretly remarried. The text leaves the secret out, but we know who it might have been, and that was Lyanna Stark, the sister of Ned Stark. This is absolutely huge because it means that Jon Snow wouldn't be Rhaegar's bastard, he'd be his rightful natural-born heir. And not only that, he'd be a natural-born heir to the Iron Throne and the Seven Kingdoms, meaning that Daenerys wouldn't be the only Targaryen in the world. Now, I can't say if this something will be revealed in Season 7. It seems like such a massive thing, it will have to be revealed in Season 8, with Bran, Samwell, and Howland Reed together, in my opinion. But back on Dragonstone, we see Varys deliver the message from Bran to the group after having a discussion with Tyrion about how he has to change Dany's mind, an advisor, and unlike himself, who is not able to change Mad King Aerys Targaryen's paranoid stance. I really enjoyed the what if from Varys. It paints a picture of how things could have gone, and it shows how man altogether has really screwed up, originally starting with the first war with the children of the forest. This next scene with Jon and co completely blew me away. Kit Harington has completely transformed his character with Jon Snow in this season. And in this moment, we see that Jon Snow has become what I like to say is the alpha dragon, stating that he would rather lead by example and capture the White himself with his people because he is their king. We haven't seen many rulers in the Game of Thrones do things that benefit the realm, and of course King's Landing is a completely different place than the North or Essos, but Jon's saying he doesn't need her permission because he is king, and for him to stand up so stoically like that for something he truly believes in makes Jon Snow so much more badass. Jon is the leader of men in this story, I believe, and reminds me so much of a cross between Aragorn and Frodo. Another cool moment from this scene is that Jon finds out that Bran and Arya are alive, but we do know that time is very limited, so he doesn't get to sit down and enjoy this moment for what it is. We do, however, get to appreciate a fun moment between Tyrion and Davos, and of course, the return of Gendry Baratheon. There's many reasons why Dan and Dave have introduced him back in the story, and him being the son of Robert Baratheon is one, him having a connection to our main characters is another one, but most importantly, him being a blacksmith is the biggest one. And it makes sense for Davos to at least make the trip to see if he survived all that rowing. And of course we get that fan service, I thought you'd still be rowing, which was fantastic. But this was another sweet reunion that we got this episode, and we know that there must be balance in these reunions. We do get another bittersweet reunion, kind of, between Jaime and Tyrion to meet about an armistice, which is also known as a truce, so they can discuss how to deal with the army of the dead. I knew at some point that Jaime and Tyrion would reunite, and it does make sense because Jaime does love Tyrion despite being a dwarf and despite killing their father. It's important that they do connect because Jaime did find out that Tyrion didn't kill Joffrey. But despite the many pitfalls of Jaime falling back into the arms of Cersei, he is still able to rationalize the importance of this proposal. But in both cases, trying to tell Cersei that they need to surrender because of 3 large dragons and letting her know that a massive army of dead encroaches upon the realm falls on deaf ears because Cersei is pregnant. This very much mirrors the Sam scene where he gets distracted from letting him see the truth. Cersei has manipulated Jaime for so long, and it's finally to the point where it's becoming dangerous, not just for Jaime, but for the realm as well. She's jeopardizing the safety of the realm, much like the Mad Queen. And the look on Jaime's face when she says, "Never betray me again," says it all. Of course, things don't go as planned again when Gendry and Davos are loading the boat to get out of King's Landing as the two Gold Cloaks appear. And you may not have recognized one of the Gold Cloaks, but he did appear last season, and he was playing Ned Stark in the play in Bravos. So that was pretty cool. But nonetheless, we get more brilliance from Davos trying to distract them with fermented crab, and Gendry ends up smashing some faces in with his warhammer, which also had a bull on it, which is pretty cool. You can kind of see it right here. And when Tyrion is discovered by the Gold Cloaks and when they are trying to leave. Teleporting to Dragonstone, we have Davos introducing Gendry to Jon Snow in a moment that mirrors the introduction of Robert Baratheon to Ned Stark. I absolutely love how Gendry jumped the gun and just told Jon about his lineage despite being a bastard. This is a connection that they both share, being a bastard, even though we know that Jon is now not a bastard. But Joe Dempsey was definitely charming in this moment, and you could feel his energy like he was really ready to embark on this fellowship to help mine dragonglass, to help create weapons, and to help fight the army of the dead. The one moment I really liked in the scene was the callback to Ned calling Robert fat and Gendry calling Jon short. It feels like they will create a bond and friendship over the final 2 episodes of this season and possibly next season. Hopefully it will be a lot like Ned and Robert had in their youth, which would be really cool. Of course, if Jon is leaving, then there has to be a goodbye scene between him and Daenerys. The tension has been palpable between the two as they move closer to each other as the season has progressed. And we hear Daenerys get all flustered earlier when she says she hadn't given Jon permission to leave. She is clearly focused on Jon, letting him know she has become used to his presence, letting him know she has enjoyed his company. But of course, we get the look back from Jorah, and he sees that Daenerys is very interested in Jon. I've always thought that they might connect this way, and I do suspect they will later on this season as they take on this risky mission in the north. They might need to get saved at some point. It does look like there's going to be 7 to 12 of them going north beyond the wall. There could be more of them going beyond the wall, as there could be a bunch of wildlings going with them, but I do think that they are going to be in a tricky situation when the Night King sets a trap for them. But nonetheless, we get another awesome callback. "I wish you good fortune in the wars to come" from Arthur Dana Mance. It's clear that Jon has been influenced by these two characters, by Mance and by Arthur Dane, but perhaps he will become the next Sword of the Morning in Wheel Dawn. We did hear Ramsay say that there is a legend about the skill of Jon as the swordsman. We then head back to Winterfell, where there is an actual revolt in the north over Jon choosing to go south, and we see that Arya is watching intently as Sansa deals with their displeasure, but Sansa really doesn't defend Jon in this situation. She just hears their complaints, and that really bothers Arya. Of course, Slimeball Supreme Peter Baelish sees this as a perfect opportunity to make his move while Jon is away, and sets a trap for Arya by using the scroll from Season 1 when Sansa was under an incredible amount of duress. Here's what the scroll says. "Robert, I write to you with a heavy heart. Our good King Robert is dead, killed from wounds he took in a boar hunt. Father has been charged with treason. He conspired with Robert's brothers against my beloved Joffrey and tried to steal his throne. The Lannisters are treating me very well and provide me with every comfort. I beg you, come to King's Landing. Swear fealty to Joffrey and prevent any strife between the great houses of Lannister and Stark." This is Littlefinger's last hurrah. He is trying to direct Arya, who he knows has been spying on him, into a dangerous game. He definitely wants there to be chaos so he can decide how to best approach the situation so that he can somehow benefit from the descent and the fallout of whatever is going on. But Sansa isn't Cersei's little dove anymore, and Arya isn't the same either, so I don't think that Littlefinger's plan is going to work. The show is setting up the tension, however, between the sisters. They are home in Winterfell, and this isn't King's Landing. So there is Brienne that's still around, and all Sansa really has to do, if her mind is right, is spill the beans to Bronze Yohn and the rest of the North that Littlefinger killed Lysa Tully. Another thing that was awesome, in case you missed it, is that Sansa did mention Ghost. I am going to predict that Sansa is going to team up with Arya and murder Littlefinger. He will be by Sansa's side. Ghost will be when she finally transforms into the She-Wolf of Winterfell. And finally, we arrive at Eastwatch by the Sea. I absolutely loved how there were staircases and ladders built into the wall. There is 19 castles along the wall, and we mainly seen Castle Black, so it's finally cool to see another location on the wall before it falls, and before I believe it's going to get breached in the finale of this season. But we finally get to see Tormund reunite with Jon, and the two things that are on his mind are that Jon is crazy for wanting to do this mission, and, of course, if the big bitch Brienne is with them. I absolutely love that the show keeps on on toying with this idea, but we do hear Jon telling Tormund about his plan, and they aren't the only ones that had this idea to go north to deal with the Night King beyond the wall. Next, we do see Tormund show Jon and company to the cells, where they do have some interesting prisoners, and we find out that it's Thoros of Myr, Beric Dondarrion, and of course, the one true Chicken King, Sandor Clegane. There is definitely some tension, however, though, as Gendry and the Brotherhood have some beef. We got to remember that Gendry was sold for gold. But differences aside, Sandor tells everyone to shut the hell up and let them join, because Beric is right. Despite their differences, their goal is the same. But awesomely, we finally come to an agreement, and we see Gendry, Jon Snow, Ser Jorah Mormont, Tormund Giantsbane, the Hound, Thoros of Myr, and Beric Dondarrion forming a fellowship to head north of the wall together in what is likely a suicide mission. I honestly can't wait to see the next episode, as in the preview, it looks like they are going to be in some deep trouble and going to enter a trap set by the Night King on the mountain shaped like an arrowhead we see in the Hound's vision into the flames. My MVP of the episode was Jon Snow. His interaction with Drogon was amazing. His scenes with Gendry, Daenerys, and Tormund were amazing. And my favorite moment from the episode was when Jon stood up to Daenerys and submitted his request, and then basically Daenerys backed off. That was my favorite moment of the episode. And my favorite quotes of the episode all came from Davos. Nothing fucks you harder than time. As my father used to say, it's better to be a coward for a minute than dead for the rest of your life. And of course, thought you still might be wrong. But now it's your turn to join the conversation. Let me know in the comment section what your favorite quote, what your favorite moment, and who your MVP of the episode was. Let me know what you're looking most forward to in next week's episode. If you enjoyed this video, a like would be much appreciated. I'm going to set a goal of 800 likes for this video. And also make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the wildfire bombs I'll be dropping in my upcoming videos. You can also check out my Patreon and become a member of our Wildfire Azor Hype community. I have some amazing rewards with special live streams, early access to my videos, and of course, awesome channel news. You can pledge any amount you so please, and it really helps me out so I can get new equipment, art, and things that really help the channel grow. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have an amazing Game of Thrones filled day. 7 blessings.
How much for your little plan?